Tsezarii, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for getting up early in your time zone and taking the time out to chat. So really excited to speak with you today.
Same here, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So always got a lot to run through on these podcasts, but I know you've listened to these before. You mentioned a few of the CTAs that you've heard before, so you'll probably know I like to start looking backwards and looking at early career and early life. So I know that you studied management and economics. So what was it that you had planned to do? Like, what was your career goal, or where did you see yourself developing and going into after studying?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. So from my high school, I graduated, it was back in 2008, but my major was in physics and math. So really my focus was on natural science, and it's one of the best schools in natural science in the country. But maybe I had a little bit too much of physics and math back in high school, so I wanted to do something less theoretical and more hands-on. So I decided to choose economics as a means to apply those natural science knowledge, math knowledge. And from the bachelor, I graduated in economics of enterprise because I thought it was interesting back then, and I wanted to see how enterprise works and how can I apply those knowledge. And in my master's, I focused more on the economical statistics and specifically on big data and data analysis, because I decided that I saw that many of the managers or C-level people, they didn't really base their decision on the data, but more on the gut feelings or their experience, which is also good. But nowadays we have so many different analytical tools that can support our decision-making process. So I was interested in learning those, not only to apply as a data analyst, but also later on, at some point, if I will play a C-level role, I would need to understand those complex data patterns to support my decision based on that, not only on my experience.
Sure. And I know that part of studying data, there are some programming elements to that, right? There's some programming languages and pieces of work that you would have been exposed to. So is that where you got your kind of taste of going into being a programmer or developer?
Yes, I enjoyed that part probably the most, because you know, with a little bit a couple of development skills, you can write scripts that will expose you to a whole new level of data analysis. And back then I used SPSS and R and Stata, different tools that you can apply on a set of data of millions of records. And after some time, and back then I already needed to use a supercomputer to calculate some of my research, but the results were mind-blowing in terms of what kind of patterns, what kind of relationships you can see that the people would otherwise overlook just from based on their experience. And one example was I analyzed the statistical data from young people of different European countries in one of my research, and then I found some relationship between Greece, Poland, and UK that you would not say otherwise if you would not look at the data in the right way. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and I was probably one of the best back then in coding skills in those tools.
Sure. So then, how did Salesforce come to be your career and your next step?
Yeah. So after graduation, I was looking for a job in data science where I can apply those knowledge. And in my first job, I joined the management trainee program where I was groomed for being the next generation manager for the company, and I was exposed to different projects across that multinational corporation. And in each of the projects, the initial goal was to analyze data, but when I looked at the problem, I realized that it was more an IT problem, and I worked with business to solve different problems, starting from an online shop and optimization the customer journey, and ending with applying this new CRM tool called Salesforce to tackle our production issues across the globe, different countries. And and concretely for this project, where I firstly got exposed to Salesforce, I was working on in an industry of performance plastics, where we have a portfolio of solutions spanned from industries, aerospace, automotive, healthcare, life science. The headquarters was in Ohio, in US, and I was based also of Cleveland. I had a chance to work with businesses in different countries like Belgium, Mexico, US, Germany, Poland, to check the readiness to apply this new tool, the CRM solution, and to see if Salesforce is the right tool for our needs, and if adoption will be good. And I had to present to C-level at different companies, but also at our headquarters. And in a sense, it was very similar to a CTA because I did like 9 months of research, and then I had 1 hour to present my findings of 9 months of research. You need to really condense your knowledge out of a broad spectrum into very small, short span of time. And you have just 30 minutes after the presentation in Q&A from the management to convince the people that Salesforce is the right tool to go with or not. Right? So it was an interesting experience. Yes, and I really enjoyed that part because I was able to work with people and also to drive adoption later on. So I stayed in that role. Management was sold on that idea, and I joined them the project as a product owner, and I worked closely with the business to drive the adoption of the new tool. Yes, that was my first exposure.
So from the moment you found Salesforce, did you identify that was going to be a platform that you wanted to work with for the foreseeable, and you could see a career with the platform?
So the first exposure was to Salesforce as a means to solve the business problem. But then later on, as I started to exploring Salesforce, I saw that it is a very powerful platform that also is developing very dynamically, and I saw the potential of a platform. And at that business project that I was part of, the adoption or the velocity was not very high because you need to train people a lot and you need to drive that adoption, and we didn't really use the full potential of the platform. So I was interested in looking at the projects where I can apply different aspects of Salesforce to solving many more business issues and business questions that the business had. So I really jumped on the opportunity to use Salesforce to solve business problems in different ways in different industries.
And you mentioned your first role was product owner, so you kind of identified the platform as being the right one for the business, and then worked on the rollout. Is that when? So I'm guessing you then also did some of the development tasks and brought in your programming skill set from your education. So were you writing Apex code and actually hands-on in a development capacity then as well?
So I was the first contact for my business part. So it was a multinational rollout, and I was a product owner for one business unit, performance plastics, but we had also many more. We had construction materials. We had I don't recall like abrasive solutions, etc., etc. And I was responsible for performance plastics. And for the question that my business had, I applied my knowledge also to solve their burning needs as much as possible. But I was also part of the Center of Excellence from my business, and we had also an architect above me that had to validate my solutions. So it was really a multinational rollout with 180,000 people that were potential users. So we have like an employee count of 180,000. So it was not. I didn't have a liberty to do much on my own because we had a really strict control process to go through. But I tried to apply my knowledge as much as possible in the areas where I was allowed.
Sure. And then, so what because you were there for a couple of years, right? So you saw that project through, and then you made the move into consulting.
Right.
So at that point, what was the attraction to consulting? And also, when you were going through that process, what were you looking for from the company you were ultimately going to choose to work for?
Yes. So really, one of the aspects of my desire to seek a change was my wish to be more hands-on and really to apply more development skills and be, having more liberty in this area. But also, I wanted to apply my knowledge from the international projects, from my consultancy point of view, from communication skills to a broader set of clients. So I wanted to see more velocity, I wanted to see more change, being able to work with multiple clients, also learn from the best or the people that have this experience. So I was looking to a consultancy company as the next step. It was a natural progression for me, I think, just based on my experience. And also I wanted to have more training. So one of the biggest aspects is if the company would offer a training courses, if they invest in their employees in terms of self-development. And that was my goal at that point, to be able to develop my skills as much as possible, as fast as possible.
So did you, at that point, before, when you chose to go into consulting, prior to that, did you even know what a Salesforce CTA was?
Not really, no. I was still not focused on the goal of becoming like professional on this specific platform fully, but I was sold on Salesforce as a great platform to solve the business needs. But I was also open to ideas that at some point I need to be more generalistic in choosing the platforms and just maybe work on the broader spectrum of platforms at that point of time. Yes, but CTA was not on my radar.
Sure. And like if I look at your career and I mean your journey so far, you've risen to the top quite quickly. Like in terms of going from being someone that was assessing what products to use, a product owner, going into consulting, and really quite quickly being an architect. And that's a lot quicker than it happens for quite a few people in the ecosystem, not just getting to CTA, but getting to the architect title and being able to command that kind of role. So how do you feel you made that progression so quickly? Like, and was that by, like, did you plan to make that transition so quickly, or did it just kind of fall into place for you?
Yes, good question. So when I transitioned to consultancy company, I also started my role as a Salesforce architect. Why? Because back at that time, I seriously considered switching to a developer position, because even though I enjoyed the part of communication with people, I also enjoyed parts of being hands-on and just having my time with code, with development. And it's, in development, as a developer, you have more straightforward goals. You can have your KPIs, you can have your ROI, you can see your progression more clearly. So it was also tempting for me to just, it's very different exposure. But in my roles, from the management perspective, it was a natural step to put me in a position where I need to consult people due to my communication skills and presentation skills. So I understand that it was also one of my stronger points that I also need to make use of. And a technical architect is a position where you can use both of your skills, both the development or technical exposure and the need to consult your stakeholders, to being open questions from the business, to also answer questions how this solution will specifically support my business processes, my business solution. So it was natural progression, natural step towards it. And as I was looking for a company that where I can learn and I can progress as quickly as possible, I was also ready to invest my time from day one into my personal development. So it was also a very thought through step. Go into a challenging role, into a challenging environment with interesting people, learn as much as possible from those people, and I met a lot of interesting people, and I tried to accommodate as much as possible from them, to learn from everyone on the projects. And the projects that I've been working on were also very interesting, very challenging in its own way, but also international. I cannot say I would do anything differently nowadays. And my progression then towards CTA became natural as I progressed through different ranks of Salesforce knowledge, due to my project roles and due to my new connections and colleagues that were around. I was put in an environment where it was a natural thing to strive for. So now here I am. But it all started when I made the decision to become a little bit better every day, with the risk to be the least experienced person in the room. And it's not a good feeling, actually, to have a little bit less knowledge than the rest, but that's the only way you can learn.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. So when you did decide, right, CTA is for me, I'm going to do that, how long did you expect that it would take you?
Well, back then, I didn't really thought about the CTA as a final goal, to be honest. I looked at it as a journey. So it was also my next step for my investment of personal time, personal means, from the consultancy role into Salesforce, self-improvement, self-progression, to be with a group of people that want to become a CTA. So I want to always, so the journey was more tempting for me than the title itself. And I looked at it like, whatever it takes, however much it takes, I want to be here. I want to be part of the group that strives for it. And I don't know. I thought maybe a year, maybe half a year, I was ready to. So when I initially submitted my case, I put the date for like 6 months from that point of time. And in total, I was preparing around a year towards that date that I put in my case that I submitted to Salesforce. But overall, it took me around 1.5 years until I got my review board date and until I passed. So yes, I mean, if that would take me another year, that would be a challenging year on top of my current investment. But I would not say I would not enjoy another year of studying with such a great people, with such a great group. So yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you did prepare, because I know I've had some of the group on the podcast before as well, but it seems like to me, everyone that I've had on the group that has been part of these kind of cohorts and study groups, they kind of make lifelong friends as well, but also like the journey that they go on together and that you went on with the people is, equally as important as the outcome.
Yes, for me it was. So for me, I was looking at it again as a journey, and not only a journey towards the Salesforce potential, but also a journey towards myself. How can I improve my day-to-day activity? How I can become better at my job, waking up earlier, optimizing my day, focusing on the right priorities, learning faster, reading faster, talking to the right people, asking the right questions. It's not something that you would limit on its Salesforce. So I was really thrilled to start this kind of journey. And I mean, I made a lot of friends. I started with some people that you had already on the podcast. I know a lot of people that you have on the podcast. It's a community it's a growing community, and I like to be part of it. I like to be part of the Salesforce ecosystem, and also it made me also a much better architect. So in my current work, I see that I can apply those kind of knowledge that have been acquired throughout the studying in my day-to-day job. So maybe not all aspects of it, but definitely the considerations that I need to make on the project. Prior to my preparation for CTA, I would not have the full stack of solutions, full stack of information that you need to have to deliver the best possible Salesforce solution that I have right now.
Sure. You mentioned you put in the you wanted the specific date, or you planned to do it 6 months out, but you actually didn't have 6 months to prepare, right, for the review board when you found out. You found out a lot closer to the review board that it was going to be planned.
Yes, right. So I found about the review board date around three weeks before the review board, and I had around 5 days to make up my mind if I'm going to take this date or not. So usually you would expect a review board date to be assigned 2 to 3 months in advance. So you have a time to ramp up your preparation, then you can plan it in advance. For me, it was more like, and now like the news came on Monday, and on Wednesday I had my vacation planned in Spain, and I had to make my decision if I'm going to now sacrifice my vacations for studying, or I'm going just to take it slowly and put it for another month or two. But the risk with that decision would be that you will never know when would be the next time you will become a date, because that's not up to you to decide. And I decided to work towards that goal, even though it was a short time span. But having the ability to work towards the goal in a timely manner was something that mobilized me. And also from my my other projects, I see that I have one ability, and that is to mobilize my strengths to work towards a goal, and then deliver the best possible performance on the day of the presentation of when it's required the most. And during my studying, I cannot say I was the best student that Sepp Wagner has ever seen. That definitely would be an overestimate. I made a lot of mistakes, and it's like going to a mock, going into a study session, then asking stupid questions, feeling stupid about it, learning a little bit about it. Going another day, we had daily meetings starting at 8 a.m. and I would make another stupid mistake, and I would, and it hurts every time you do a stupid mistake, because you're exposed to such a brilliant group of people that you have around you, that you need to be prepared to be unexperienced and to show also your weaknesses, because only in this way you can bridge those gaps. And in my case, it was like making mistakes up to the day when I had the review board, and then deliver the best possible performance on that day, because I already made all of my mistakes before. It's just so much mistakes you can make, and then I didn't have any left. So that was my way of studying. I wanted to do all mistakes, ask all stupid questions, make all the bad presentations prior to that day, and then collect my best knowledge, best skills, and just deliver it on the performance day. And yes, in this 3 weeks before the review board, I had to mobilize myself. I changed my daily routine completely. I started to wake up earlier, like around 6 o'clock or even before that. The good thing was that I was already on vacation in Spain, and in Spain it gets really hot really soon. So when you wake up at 6, you already have a nice weather outside. So it really helped me to straighten my daily routine. And I also have seen a correlation. The earlier I wake up, the better my day goes. If I would wake up at 7 or 8, I would have 2 more hours of sleep, but my daily productivity would be lower by around 50%. And even with more hours of sleep, I would be still sleepy during the lunchtime. While when I sleep 6 hours or even 5, but wake up at 5, at 6, you have this drive throughout the day, and you can stay focused and concentrated up to 10, 11 p.m. when you need to wrap up your day. So I was able to increase in the short span of time my productivity, and and repeat everything I studied before, the 1.5 years before. And I actually just started to do my mock. So before that, knowledge of my presentation day, of my review board day, I didn't do much mock. Maybe I did 10, 12. So it's really not too much. And I plan to get the review board date and then starting to do mocks, like one mock every 2 days, every 3 days, collect the feedback, process the feedback, and move on. But due to the short time, I had to do like 8 mocks in 7 days, like every day 1 mock, to really focus just on that. So at the end, I went to the beach in Spain just once on my last day, but I was able to make a really good progression in my presentation skills and my solution skills for the mock. So to the point that I had 2 sessions with my coach, with Seb Wagner, at the beginning of my 7 days mock sprint and at the end. And at the beginning of my mock sprint, Seb would tell me that I'm not ready for the review board. It's better to pass right now and not risk your chances. But at the end, when I get to the 7th day, I had another mock with him, and he said, "Well, you made tremendous progress. You're ready to go now." So I was able to progress day by day. And
7 days.
Yeah. Sorry?
In 7 days.
In 7 days, right? In 7 days, continuously changing my daily routine, making mistakes, making a lot of mistakes, challenging with the time that I didn't do before, like really taking just the time necessary for the mock, like in the real review board. That was something that it was also surprising to me how much I could achieve, but I will apply this knowledge also outside of Salesforce as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. And you have a very understanding partner going to Spain and allowing you to practice your mocks for 7 days.
That's true. If I would not have a support from my wife, I probably wouldn't be able to do that, because really I could rely on her that she would handle all other problems that I had. So I didn't think about anything else. I really switched off from any outside distractions. I didn't read any news, any social media, nothing. And that was the mean that allowed me to get the most of my knowledge of my preparation.
So let's talk about the actual day. And you're in the review board. You obviously know what to expect because you've done the mocks now. But how did you feel? Were you calm because you'd got all of your bad mocks out of the way, like you said? And how confident were you on the day?
Yeah. So I can speak about my bad experience or my mistakes, and then passing the CTA later on right now, because it's in the past. It's easier to do this right now than facing that day and knowing that you probably didn't have enough time to prepare. You wish you would have another 2 months. You wish you would have another session that you can ask some other questions that you are still not quite sure about. But at some point you need to let it go, and that's part of my preparation, and that I have actually built up towards that level, also from my sports career. So I used to do archery. It's an unusual sport, but it has a lot in common with chess and with all technical sports, in the way that you need to execute every move, you need to execute every decision that you make very carefully, because one decision can cost you the tournament, can cost you the match, can cost you all the months of the preparation. And it's very similar to Salesforce. If you make one decision in the review board that would be a wrong one, for example, you would call out a different org strategy, going with single org versus multi-org, and it's the wrong decision, it can cost you a review board try. And so in order to build up my my ability to deliver my best performance during on the due dates and being less nervous about every decision I'm making, I have two tactics. And one of them, I was reading a book called The Now Habit from Neil Fiore. It's probably not so known, but it worked for me really well. It's a book to overcome procrastination, but I applied this book to overcome the paralysis of the decision that you need to make, and making some decisions and taking accountability for your decision makes you a better decision maker and puts you in the position where you need to execute this decision with the full accountability for it. And it makes you feel better, and it makes you feeling more powerful about your decision. And another part, it was, I watched the Bryan Cranston. He played in the Breaking Bad, the guy that, you know, the main character. He's a great actor, and in one of the interviews he was asked what is his best advice to the younger actors that are performing. And the best advice was, when you go out and perform, you need to perform without the claim to the outcome of the performance. So you just go out, you perform, then you leave the room, and you not looking back. It's not yours to take. The outcome is not for you to make. It's out of your control. It's up for the judges. It's up for the shooting team, but it's not up to you. So I applied that knowledge, and it's really a powerful tool because it makes your presentation feeling more powerful, feeling your control about your course of action, about your course of storytelling, and actually it's all small things that are important for your C-level presentation, because the CTA is a technical exam about presentation to the C-level. So it's about you being a technical person, but about solving the technical problems. And the second part is as much important as the first part, as a technical part. And when I applied that knowledge, my presentations got much better. And when I went to the review board, I actually, from the scenario perspective, I got surprised because the scenario was longer than I would expect. At first I was surprised, but I also understood that I had to go in with the mindset that it's not something that you need to be afraid of. So the scenario itself, the presentation and the Q&A session, it's not a beating that you need to suffer through and then being happy that it's done. But it's more an opportunity to deliver your best performance despite the challenges, and really to mobilize your strengths. And when you think about it, that you are taking the ownership of this scenario, you are now in charge, and you're here to make it or break it, then it was a breaking point for me that I did solve the scenario. I didn't do many, well, in my mind, I did the best performance that I have ever done during the mocks. So that scenario, even though it was longer than expected, I would not prepare for the length of the scenario. In terms of presentations, in terms of storytelling, it was probably my best performance. And by, from the Q&A session, I knew that probably the presentation was good enough for the judges, so they didn't have even many questions to the presentation itself, because I was able to deliver the best version of myself at that point of time.
It's interesting because it's quite rare to find people that have felt confident afterwards. I think you find a lot of people that are unsure and hopeful, but I know you were actually confident that you'd passed, right? You felt that because of that they didn't have too many questions for you, and you felt like you'd nailed the presentation. you felt confident that you'd pass the review board?
Well, it's easy to say right now because I know the outcome that I was confident at that point of time. I was not so confident when I went into Q&A. In my presentation, I'm sure that I made some decisions that were right, but were not expected by the judges at that point of time. So I delivered them my vision on the scenario that solved the scenario, but I cannot say that they would have seen a lot of such solutions in the past. That's what I mean. And to my, when in the Q&A session itself or during the review board, I tried to again apply the mindset that I don't want to suffer through this time point. I don't want to suffer through the review board. I want to go there and don't be afraid that it will cost me like an arm, that the whole preparation, and then be stressed about it, but rather to apply a positive mindset that this is something that I want to do for myself, not for the judges, not for the title, but I want, if I'm going to pass it, I want to have a good feeling about it. And looking back at the process, having good memory, rather than go try to deliver as much as possible, try hard, and then suffer through the beating of Q&A, beating yourself then later on about the decisions that you made, thinking how can you prove that, because that would rather be a less pleasant experience. And I wanted to also try it out as an experience point of time, like if you would jump from an airplane, right? It's one-time experience, it's scary experience, but you would rather enjoy it than hesitate and then, oh, I need to do this. It's I need to push myself through, and then look back and think about how did you push yourself through. That's a different story, right? So I was looking at it as something that I want to stay with me as a positive memory.
Yeah, nice. So obviously you passed, and now you are a CTA. So what does life look like for you now in the role that you have, and what kind of, you've hit a major goal. So how do you keep motivated and striving for more?
Well, right now I want to focus on my family. So we expect our first child, and I postponed all the preparation to the turning point of the family life up to now because I had a CTA. So I cannot say I really started to enjoy the new title or the new position, but the new goals I will probably set right after. I will adjust to the new normal of having 3 persons in my family rather than just 2. But yeah, I still, my mind is open. I would like to work on some strategic projects if I will be tasked with to dig dive into one specific area and being able to improve a product, for example, if possible, but also the ability to serve the program, serve the project at the client level with my new skill set is also very tempting for me, because I know that now I will be a better architect. And also I have a network of people that I went through during my preparation, and some of them already passed the CTA, some of them are still in the process of passing. I want to motivate those people. I'm trying to be available for contact and reaching out. And also I try to bring my experience as a CTA, that the CTA process should not just make you a better Salesforce architect, but make you a better architect and better decision maker and a better learner, better consultant in every possible way. So yeah, that would be my goal.
And it's been interesting to hear about the kind of non-technical preparation you've done around like the mental preparation of, how do you blank things out? And I guess like you are really focusing on being in the moment rather than letting the moment overwhelm you.
Right. That's the point. You need to control the moment. You don't let out the control about the moment. You need to take the ownership of the moment. It's life.
Yeah, it's true, and that's an area I've not really explored before. Like, I've explored certain topics around the CTA journey, and but actually how you get mentally prepared for the review board. I guess that's something that Seb would cover in the course, but I'm sure that's an area people will be interested in hearing about as well. So if any of our listeners do want to reach out and kind of understand a bit more about that or anything else in your journey, where's the best place to contact you?
LinkedIn would be a good place to go, and yes, I will try to answer any messages, any reach outs. Yes, and you can join Seb's cohort and then reach out to me on the internal Seb channel. I'll be happy to help you with your journey, and yes, available to answer any questions that the listeners might have.
Well, thank you so much, Tsezarii, for your time. Good luck with and congratulations with the upcoming addition to the family. And look forward to seeing how your journey continues to evolve over the years.
Thank you.